I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with Oppo. On one hand, I really like that they're willing to push boundaries and come up with some truly interesting devices like, the Oppo Find X. But I also am not a fan of their mid-range smartphones because, they often don't offer great value for money and also don't have those ecosystem features that a brand like Samsung can offer. So every time I'm handed a new Oppo smartphone, like this brand new Reno 5, I'm often wondering, which side of the fence does this sit on? To say that the new Reno 5 is a head-turner would be an understatement. Especially in this galactic silver colorway, the Reno 5 is one of the brightest smartphones I've seen to date. The color also shifts and changes depending on how the light hits it, which isn't new, but is still very much an attention grabber. I think the sheer brightness of the color has to do with the new textured back design that Oppo has gone for. They call it the Diamond Spectrum process with a Reno glow, which is basically like an over-the-top way of saying that, it's very colorful but still is matte so that it rejects fingerprints really well. I am impressed that they've managed to keep the phone this bright though, despite the matte finish, but the downside here is that the phone ends up feeling very plasticky. And that's a little disappointing because something like frosted glass would have had similar fingerprint repelling characteristics while feeling more upmarket. Coupled with the frame, the smartphone doesn't feel particularly expensive in the hand, but it does feel well put together and the buttons are satisfying enough to press. On the inside, the Oppo Reno 5 is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G processor. This is a very capable mid-range SoC and will also give the Reno 5 access to 5G connectivity. You get 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. It's a good place to start, but there's no option for micro SD expansion. Performance during my brief time with the device was pretty good. Everything is smooth as expected from this processor, though I will point out that the unit I have with me isn't running on the final version of software. This is an early unit that Oppo Malaysia sent us to check out, so it's not on ColorOS 11 just yet. But we've seen what this processor can do on a device like the OnePlus Nord, so I don't think performance will be much of an issue. Of course, this smooth operation is helped out by the fact that the Reno 5 has a nice 6.4-inch AMOLED display with a 90Hz refresh rate. I've always liked this combination because you get a nice contrast of an AMOLED panel with the buttery smoothness of a fast refresh rate. Viewing angles are pretty good too, as is the sharpness from the Full HD Plus panel. The punch hole may be annoying to some, but I definitely prefer it over a big notch. Perhaps the only cause for concern here is the 4300 mAh battery. For 2021, it's definitely not on the big side of things, as many phones are shipping with 5000 mAh cells already. Oppo hopes to offset that with 65-watt SuperVOOC fast charging, giving you a full charge in about 35 minutes. That's mighty fast, but I personally prefer longer battery lives over fast charging because, I like to charge my devices overnight. The Reno 5 has a quad camera setup at the back and a 32-megapixel selfie shooter up front. Naturally, the phone also features the whole host of Oppo's AI features, plus a dual video mode that's basically Nokia's Bothy feature from way back in the day. The phone will do up to 4K video recording, and it also has an ultra steady mode for extra stabilization, but that will kick your resolution down to Full HD. Personally, I don't see a huge difference between ultra steady and the regular stabilization at 4K, and what's particularly disappointing is both modes suffer from the same kind of jitters when trying to smoothen images. Photography for the Reno 5 is pretty decent for its class in good lighting. It nails color and white balance in daylight, but there is improvement that could be made in the detail department. Things quickly fall apart in low light, however. There is a lot of luminance noise with night mode turned off and a very noticeable green tint. Turn night mode on and you're greeted with color noise instead, and then the tint shifts dramatically into like a magenta one. Selfies have Oppo's trademark beautification on by default, but you can turn that off, which is nice. I am, however, a little bit disappointed with how washed out the colors look and how dramatically it changes my skin tone. After spending this time with the Oppo Reno 5, I can confidently say that what we have here isn't the boundary pusher that something like the Find X was. It doesn't do anything radically unique, nor does it do anything particularly new to try and change the game. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. The ingredients that make up the Reno 5 are pretty promising because if you peel away the Oppo badging and software, what you end up with is basically the building blocks for the OnePlus Nord. And that is a pretty good phone for the money. However, that is the key distinction here. And that is also the one piece of the puzzle that right now I don't have yet. That's the price. Oppo says that you will be able to get at least one of the Reno 5 smartphones for under 2,000 ringgit. But if that final figure ends up being 1,999 ringgit, then I don't see a reason why anyone would pick this smartphone over the OnePlus Nord. After all, you should remember that even at its launch price of 1,699 ringgit, people were already saying that the Nord was too expensive. So what will they think of the Reno 5 then? But that's it, those are my thoughts, initial thoughts for the Oppo Reno 5 smartphone. Right now, I don't have the price of the device yet, so I don't know how much it will be priced when it comes into Malaysia, but I do know that there will be a Reno 5 and a Reno 5 Pro, though there is no word on the Reno 5 Pro Plus that was, launched in China. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the Reno 5? Do you use a Reno 4? Do you think this is like a good successor? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below too. So let me know all of that. Also, if you have questions for the Reno 5, make sure you head on over to our Instagram page because we're doing like a quick Q&A. Where you can submit your questions and then we will answer them on our Instagram stories. All the links that you'll need are in the video description, so check those out. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!